We've discussed the importance of managing our water resources and its impact on supplying water services. But where do the roles and responsibilities lie in water resource management, particularly for local government? And what are the links to other stakeholders in this vital undertaking?
The Constitution is quite clear in terms of what are the roles of national, what are the roles of province, and what are the roles of local.
The Department of Water Affairs is the custodian of all waters in the country.
Water boards provide bulk water to municipalities.
And the delivery aspect of it, which is your taps and toilets, sits with local government.
And water services include also then treating that water from the after supply to the houses, to factories, to commercial properties.
SALGA, as an association of municipalities, its main role is threefold. The first is that of representation, advice, and that of supporter. In terms of water resources management, what we have done is we have developed a framework. And it basically covers three main roles of local government at that level, that of planning, that of regulation, and that of water use.
It started with the involvement of Durban Green Corridor. It was community groups, people along the stream, and we informed the officials, councillors were informed, and they were on board with the project. This place, you couldn't enter here. There were a lot of scrap metal, litter. People on the other side of the road were just throwing all their bags here, full of garden refuse, feces sometimes. So we had to clean that, and we had to involve them. So in this area where we are at the moment, we did litter picking, alien eradication. So by taking out all these alien plants that are using a lot of water, it helps our rivers to flow freely. The community now knows where to report, what numbers to dial for municipality to attend to those problems, like blocked stormwater, sewer, and also burst water pipes or water mains. Our aim as a conservancy is that people on Saturdays come over and relax in these places. By involving the community in whatever you do, and community takes up those initiatives, it also works. It will work for everybody.
We are now situated in Ward 44 within the Inanda area, and Tandi's garden as we know it. Tandi worked with a group of 10 ladies within basically being a neighbors, and they worked the garden every morning for 2 hours. Okay, through our construction we have actually come to know about this garden. And ever since we've been supporting Tandi in her gardening skills, we've brought in a lot of outside support for her.
Since last year, January, ngiye ekliniki ngathola i-poverty iningi kakhulu. So ngadecide ukwenza izingadi for ama-soup kitchen kulabo abathatha abanesifo se-TB and HIV and AIDS. Bebengakhona ukudla amaphilisi without ukudla eswini. So sazama-ke ukuthi senze ingadi. Le ngadi sayenza sasine problem yamanzi. Ukuthi amanzi asinawo. Ngabo March then kwangena i-project le yaka Water Harvest.
And yes, obviously at this part of the time we have just come through a winter season, and if a household can go through a winter season planting green vegetables, obviously the initiative and the drive is there for the months to come.
abantu laba abagulayo ke abanesifo se-TB naba-HIV positive bayijabulelile kakhulu le ngadi ngoba bakwazile ukuthi sibabize lesine organization nendlwana nje encane esayenza ukuthi masikwazi ukubaqoqa ndawonye sizobanikeza isobho nezinkwa sobe sikubedla amaphilisi so bakujabulelile ke esikwenzile.
Right now there's a drive to alleviate poverty, and the best way to alleviate poverty is to do it yourself. Plant your own vegetables, plant your own fruits. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
That is Duzi Umgeni Conservation Trust, and it's fighting for the health. There are rivers of Umsunduzi and Umgeni. There is an education side which we do soil, water and wetlands. Sure. We focus more on people who are really wanting to get involved with nature. We're trying to teach people from young age to look after what they have and how to conserve what they have.
DUCT recently launched 9 teams between Howick and the sea in Durban. Typically a city team will tend to your alien vegetation, your solid waste, as well as inspecting a fair bit of sewer line, the regular spill areas, the industrial areas, making sure that what's coming into the river is getting reported to the authorities. Each team is self-contained with a bakkie, obviously gloves, black bags, and brush cutters, chainsaws, completely to do the job, herbicides as well. It is a new project, but it's launched very smoothly, and we're very happy with the way it's going so far, and we can already see an impact. To work with eThekwini, we are seen as a very proactive municipality when it comes to water especially, and we actually partner. We co-manage projects, in fact. So the potential is enormous. While if we work with municipalities that aren't quite as agreeable, our work never goes as far, and we're never nearly as effective. In the next few years, rather than being an area of just wasteland and which we deposit our waste, it's going to become an area that we can value and get a lot back from.
That's what the challenge is. Once you start recognizing that the success of my service delivery or my function as local government depends on other role players, then we start moving forward.
We need to have a forum whereby national, provincial and local governments sit down around the table whatever initiative that they either have going or that they have planned, and we try and have a coherent approach to it.
A good plan is first. We need to have a very good plan to know who's using water, what water do we need, how to plan, how to be proactive in terms of what water will be needed by agriculture, what water would be needed by our towns and cities.
And also let's remember from a local government side is water services planning, and also there is integrated development planning.
Those plans should be integrated in such a way that within that particular catchment, that the stakeholders know precisely how much water is available, how much water they're going to use, and what infrastructure they're going to develop. That, water and sewage are actually integrated in such a way that you need to look at settlements and then plan precisely how you're going to provide that particular service.
George Municipality has got a very good water resource management plan in place. In 2004, we initiated a bulk water resource plan and appointed consultants to look at the needs of the town for the next 25 years. Various options were identified, not only the conventional, your dams, but also looking at desalination, reuse of treated effluent, groundwater, and various other options. George's greatest benefit throughout this entire drought process has been the fact that we have had planning in place. We've done our planning. We'd already started with the augmentation of options. The ultrafiltration plant, which is the indirect reuse of effluent, was the first priority that we went for. we already had the record of decision that was issued by the Department of Environmental Affairs. So it's an implementation-ready project.
The Department of Water Affairs must make sure that there is enough expertise available to manage the systems.
It's very important for local government to consider, to build more capacity around the issues of wastewater treatment works, the management of that.
Die opleiding wat ons nodig gehad het om te sorg dat ons kwaliteit water aan ons gemeenskappe lewer. Die opleiding is deur MTI aan van my werkers verskaf tot op 'n vlak van NQF level 3 en 4. MTI en Waterwese het ons ook gehelp om die apparate te koop en ons opgelei en ons gebruik dit nou 2 keer 'n week om seker te maak ons waterbronne is van hoë gehalte binne die munisipaliteit.
Another achievement of the Southern Cape is we have shared service centers where all municipalities did not have highly competent engineers. And what we did was we formed a club amongst the municipalities to say, let's share. If there's any issues and problems and constraints and challenges, then they're brought to this and then they are able to share their knowledge.
That traditionally we've been using surface water as a resource, but there is an emerging trend that we need to use groundwater. It's also a resource that needs to be nurtured and managed properly. So we could use surface water, mix it with groundwater, and there's also a key aspect that is emerging in terms of water reuse.
En ek het agterna ook naslaanwerk gedoen en gevind dat ons het 'n boor gehad 10 kilometer buitekant Victoria Wes in die rigting van Drie Susters, Beaufort Wes. En ek het daardie bronne laat toets en ons het toe gekry dat die water is voldoende en dit kan vir ons hou vir 'n tydperk nadat die toetse gedoen is. En ons het aansoek gedoen by Departement Waterwese en hulle het ons gehelp om die boorgat te ontwikkel. En ons het die boorgat ontwikkel, ons het 'n pypaanleg gedoen van 10 kilometer. Ons het dit op die EPWP proses gedoen, waarby ons meer mense werk gegee het en masjinerie daar uitgehou het. En ons het ons waterbron aangelê en die bron is nou al reeds vir plus minus 3 jaar in werking en hy is voldoende vir die gemeenskap. En dit het ook ons probleem opgelos ten opsigte van die water wat dan nou te min gewees het in die somermaande.
And noting the challenges that we have in the rural areas, the concept of rainwater harvesting has come up. The project name is Imziniati Rainwater Harvesting Project. Okay, we have 1,000 households, and to date, we just got approximately 110 houses left. And that has taken us close to about a year and a half. Most of the beneficiaries for rainwater harvesting tanks already practice some sort of rainwater harvesting in drums, 25-litre buckets, containers. It's just formalizing the way they do it. Hence, the rainwater harvesting tank. The initial pilot project for rainwater harvesting was actually rainwater harvesting supplement water source. It was basically to encourage that manufactured water will basically be for your drinking and your cooking purposes in terms of the health and hygiene. And your rainwater harvesting tank will basically be for your washing, cleaning, and together, basically food security as well. Hence, beneficiaries receive a tank together with garden training to formalize their training in gardening, crop rotation, and education component together with that with regards to maintenance of tank. As part of eThekwini's policy as well, a minimum of 40% of project budget goes back into the community in terms of local labor, local contractors, local suppliers, in terms of material suppliers. And yes, we do achieve 40% and above with regards to that injection. That's going to actually alleviate poverty to a certain level, create food security, number 2, and number 3, the cash injection into the community and benefits for companies within the community as well. One of the challenges that we had is the various shapes and designs of houses within the rural areas. You find that some being mud houses and some being brick and some being straw huts, we found that the shape of houses didn't actually quantify to use typical drainage system as such in terms of guttering. Hence we use a flexible gutter system. It's basically a homemade, we purchased through a company where a flexible pipe is cut in half and a patent bracket is made. The plus sign of the flexible gutter system is that you can basically use it in any shape or structure.
Water from the sea is one aspect of desalination, but then you also have desalination of our existing fresh water that we use that brings about recycling.
We're looking at recycling treated sewage, either to the quality of drinking water or certainly to the quality of industrial use.
What we regard as wastewater, we now don't want to regard it as wastewater. We want to regard it as treated water.
Now this plant that's behind us here is the ultrafiltration treatment plant. This effluent goes through the conventional treatment process at the wastewater treatment plant and then through the ultrafiltration plant, where 99.999% of all viruses and bacteria are removed.
This is the influent. So whenever you flush your toilets or do the dishes or whatever, that's the water coming into the plant. It then goes to the aeration ditch where oxygen is added and it breaks down the organic matter. This is now the feed that will be used to go into the ultrafiltration plant. There's 300 membranes altogether.
And from here it is pumped via a 7.8 kilometer pipeline where it is discharged into the Garden Route Dam.
This is the water that's being pumped to our Garden Route Dam, and that's the final product that actually comes to our taps which we drink. We do extensive testing on all of the water to make sure that it complies to the standards that have been set up by the ultrafiltration plant before it goes to the dam, and also before it goes to the consumer's tap. We also do tests on that water.
So this indirect reuse of treated effluent for potable use, it's the first in South Africa. Reuse of effluent is going to become more prevalent as our natural resources become more stressed.
Towns like George, Knysna, Bitto, they're also under restriction by the Department of Water Affairs. We have to now cut down the water demand. And most of the towns are up to more than 40% in terms of their water savings. So that, I think, is a great beginning in terms of optimizing water use.
We had to go and look at our water demand management, how we could intensify that. We had to look at public participation. Without the assistance of the public to reduce consumption, there was no ways that we were actually going to make it through this drought. The initial predictions that we'd done in sort of like early April, May, June, was that if we did not implement measures, if we did not cut consumption, then George would only have water, sufficient water to supply the town until the end of February 2010. So it literally was a race against time. We had to look at the monitoring of users and target the highest users, where we had one-on-ones and then we'd phone them up. We had users that were using in excess of 150 to 160 kilolitres per month.
Almost everything that we do in an attempt to improve our surface water quality stems from a project, Green Rivers project. The essence of it is improving our surface water quality. The word green actually has got nothing to do with the color of the water in the river. It basically has to do with the quality of the water. And out of the Green Rivers project, what we do is focus on what we as municipality departments are doing that could have either an adverse or a positive impact on the river water quality. Since we've initiated the Green Rivers project and we've intensified our monitoring and our management of our water resources, the last Duzi Canoe Marathon that we had, I'm proud to say we had no complaints of any Duzi cuts, so that is a feather in our cap. And unfortunately, that being a feather in our cap, it also poses a great challenge in the sense that we've sort of set a benchmark that we need to meet every time the Duzi Canoe Marathon takes place.
We don't have any big industries here, so that makes it much easier to manage. What we are just farming, and so around the world we keep clean, and then keep it fenced and locked. Plant our cycle of 8 hours and let it stand for the rest of the day. So if you can do that, you are going to win the battle. And if you protect it, it's going to be there. And you're going to have clean water. We won't have any pollution like E. coli inside the water. Groundwater is nice. It's clean water. Some people go buy it in a bottle. We can drink it out of our taps. So let's protect it.
We also lobby the Department of Water Affairs. We also inform the municipalities who is polluting, who is obstructing. There must be a much more rigorous monitoring, and therefore we need to know the extent of the pollution. There should be some enforcement of the statute. There must be punitive measures that are enforced, currently not enforced.
The polluter pay principle, that whoever pollutes the resource must pay. Up until we exercise that particular approach, our resources will be compromised.
If you want to improve something, firstly you need to measure. You need to know what's there. You need to put an improvement plan in place. And also you need to be able to revisit and monitor that improvement plan to see that it's effective. I mean, in eThekwini, we sample our rivers, our stormwater outfalls, our beaches and the harbour at least once a month. And the actual aim of that program is not to focus on the bad, actually is to focus on the good, to say this is the good that's coming out of the mitigation measures that we put in place, and we need to improve on that. When we broke down the catchments into minor catchments, we were able to narrow our focus down to the specific sample points that are giving us problems. And with that, we were able to identify, one, pump stations that were giving us problems, two, wastewater treatment works that were giving us problems in terms of their discharges not being in spec. And with that came the intervention of installing telemetry on our pump stations, because what's been happening is we were getting overflows on our pump station and we are only noticing those an hour or two afterwards.
In the year 2000, we went over to a telemetric control system. A telemetric system is a radio control system where we take the signals from the one reservoir to the other one, to the pump station, where we just do the electronic switching.
As daar enige fout is, as 'n boor gaat staan of as hy nie voldoende water het nie, dan is daar 'n reën wat afgaan by ons en ons bewus maak dat daar probleme is met ons watervoorsiening.
And we also do ground level monitoring, also electronical, so we can see what our water levels are doing via our telemetric system.
En dan kan ons dit onmiddellik aanspreek.
Also, when we get an alarm of an overflow event, then we put in place whatever mitigation measures that are required, either one, tinkering that flow, sewage, or diverting it if there's a possibility upstream, and also disinfecting before it gets to the receiving waters.
Maintenance programs, just, some of the sewer lines are old. They were designed 50, 100 years ago in the case of Pietermaritzburg here. They've been put in place and they're being asked to do a lot of work for a much larger and expanded loading on them, putting in planned maintenance, replacement, etc. That would have an enormous difference to ensuring that at least sewage is getting to the right place.
We haven't had any problems by clogging for the last 17 years, so we've seen some people complaining about The water's not sustainable, but if you manage it right, it's going to work.
The Department of Water Affairs, together with all the sectors in terms of water services, have agreed then to have a regulation assessment model, which we call a blue drop. Blue meaning very high quality drinking water. If you achieve a blue drop, like what the city of Cape Town did before the last World Cup in terms of last year, they actually used it as a marketing tool to say, welcome to the city of Cape Town. It is a blue drop status municipality. It gives that high level of confidence in terms of drinking water.
eThekwini Municipality, in conjunction with Mngeni Water, which is our water board, have received a Blue Drop certification of excellence.
George Municipality won the Blue Drop Award in 2009. This we consider to be one of our greatest achievements.
The system that we are using in Victoria West is the Blue Drop system from the Department of Water Affairs. This is to help them get the information quicker. So we do our operational testing twice a week and our bacteriological testing once a month. And those test results are captured on the system and it's directly processed to their system. In total, we have 4 sampling points, including the reservoir. So it's the point of use as well as the source. And we need to monitor the water at every sample point every month. If we don't do that, it's a not certified audit. The DWAF, they then get the information and they check the criteria, and if it's certified, we then get a Blue Drop status for our water quality.
Now, Green Drop is more applicable to treated water. So when municipalities then deliver water in terms of Blue Drop, they're wanting to also achieve the Green Drop status.
Which really seeks to, for lack of a better word, accredit municipalities that comply to norms and standards, that has the necessary skills to operate that wastewater that discharges into the resource. You do reduce pollution in terms of the resource. And then you then give acknowledgement to the municipality that they're actually doing excellent work. They're investing in human resources, they're investing in their infrastructure, and they're making sure that the communities within that area are not compromised from a water quality point of view and from a resource point of view.
There is a growing community across South Africa that is recognizing how critical it is to manage our precious water resources with care.
In this, we join a growing global community led by countries such as France, Australia and Brazil, who are doing wonderful things like involving their community, making best use of nature's natural drainage for stormwater, and providing economic incentives for polluters to maintain good water quality.
The little that we have, we've got to manage it better. This cannot be emphasized strongly enough.
And I think most importantly that we involve key stakeholders within the municipal space, your communities, private users, farmers, industry.
The achievement of sustainable use of the resources basically cannot be achieved unless you really cooperate and work together. They're basically interlinked.
People are pooling their resources, pooling their efforts, pooling their planning, and coming up with a much more remarkable water management at the level of local government.
Rather than looking outwards at what people are doing, is to firstly do an introspection. That means that local government, that district municipalities, that's metro, they need to firstly look at themselves, look at how they're impacting on those water resources.
And if we are misusing all those things, it will affect our next generation.
Government, I think, are starting to realize that water is under huge pressure, but civil society doesn't always see it as their problem, or don't even see themselves as the cause, which essentially they are. They're supporting those industries that are polluting the rivers. So I think it's important that everyone in this situation realizes that they're part of this problem and they also need to be part of the solution.
Let's nurture and grow this emerging South African community to ensure clean water for all into our country's future.